This question is a slightly different wording than others, but it's still the same basic idea we keep seeing. How would text 2 respond to text 1? So that gets me to think, let's read text 2 first, get a sense of what they believe, then we can go and understand text 1 maybe with a little bit more context. Text 2, past studies of white dwarf atmospheres have concluded that certain exoplanets had continental crusts. Geologist Keith Perturka and astronomer C. Zhu argue that those studies unduly emphasize atmospheric traces of lithium and other individual elements as signifiers of the types of rocks found on Earth. So they emphasize the wrong thing. The studies don't adequately account for different minerals made up of various ratios of those elements and the possibility of rock types not found on Earth that contain those minerals. So just like, I don't know, wrong minerals, something like that, they're emphasizing the wrong thing, right? Like, I don't understand the science, but I get that they're criticizing it in some way. So let's take a look at text 1. Astronomer Mark Holland and colleagues examined 4 white dwarfs, small, dense remnants of past stars, in order to determine the composition of exoplanets that used to orbit those stars. Studying wavelengths of light in the white dwarf atmospheres, the team reported that traces of elements such as lithium and sodium support the presence of exoplanets with continental crusts similar to Earth's. So I think this is just my answer, right? Is this guy saying lithium and sodium are good and the other people are saying something about that is bad? So I don't know. Let's just look at the choices and see if anything matches that. And then if we need to do more understanding of the science, we can. A, as unexpected. So how would they characterize it? They would characterize one as unexpected because it was widely believed at the time that white dwarf exoplanets lack continental. No. Okay, so first of all, unexpected is a very strong word, right? I mean, something surprising. Do we have anything here about like surprise? I don't think so. Plus, widely is one of those words that just stands out to me because it quantifies things. So how do I know what is widely believed? It needs to say that. So, I kind of don't have a strong memory of anything being widely believed. So I'm already kind of done with this choice. It's got a lot of things that just, because of my experience with the SAT, stand out as problems that tend to show up in wrong answers. So I don't like that choice. B, as premature because researchers have only just begun to trying to determine what kinds of crust white dwarf exoplanets had. No, this brings in another element that I am bothered by in a lot of trap answers, the idea of time, right? Premature means something is too early. I don't remember passage 2 talking about like, okay, don't do this yet. Like we have to wait, right? Like that idea of time passing didn't really stick out to me. Again, maybe it's there, but right away, I don't like that. That's a common trap answer reason. If it was really about that, I feel like I would have remembered that. So I'll leave it in, but I don't like it. C, as questionable because it rests on an incomplete consideration of potential sources of the elements detected in white dwarf atmospheres. Well, that seems like it's bad, right? And then incomplete consideration of potential sources of the elements. Again, my summary was that it was with the wrong minerals or something like that. So that seems enough of an overlap that I'll at least think C might be right. Let's look at D. As puzzling because it's unusual to successfully detect lithium and sodium when analyzing wavelengths of light in white dwarf atmospheres. No. I don't know. I don't know if that's unusual, right? So they didn't talk about like what's common and what tends to happen. Their criticism seemed to be that they were looking at the wrong thing. C is really the only choice that's saying you're looking at the wrong thing, right? It's an incomplete consideration, right? Look, just think about those words. Unduly emphasize, incomplete consideration. To me, that is the exact same thing, right? Unduly emphasize means you are emphasizing something you shouldn't. If you have an incomplete consideration, you are considering something, but you don't have all the evidence, right? Like that to me is so close in ideas that it's basically synonyms. So that's how I tend to read these SAT passages, is ignoring the details, ignoring the nouns, lithium, sodium, whatever, and focusing on the adjectives, the verbs. What are they saying about these nouns? What are these nouns doing, right? And so their description here about the science is much more important to me than the science itself. And that is what the choices were about. And that's why I'm very confident with C here. I don't feel like I need to reread anything. It aligns very nicely. And it is the right answer. But I do feel like this is a question where a lot of people would get thrown off by all of this kind of geology talk. And it doesn't matter. It's focus on words like unduly emphasize. As soon as I read that, I was like, oh, that's what this is going to be about. Someone is criticizing someone else's method. That's a very classic SAT science passage idea. And sure enough, the actual science involved doesn't matter. Just the practice of science. That's what matters.